So if you guys would just like to introduce yourselves.
The farm aid.
Okay, no, ladies first.
No, the farm aid.
Of course, this is a back and forth expression.
They do this. This is called tarot.
No way. No, you have to go.
Okay, my name is Joan Gaughan. I served in Iran from 1964 to 1966 with the Peace Corps. I was stationed first of all at Rasht, which is it's a provincial capital about 20 miles inland from the southern shore of the Caspian Sea. That was my first year. My second year was in another town about 20 miles south of Rasht called Laijan. Eventually, I got a doctorate from the University of Michigan and started teaching Western Civ at Washtenaw Community College until I retired in 1996. And I retired then because I had met my husband at Washtenaw, but he began to show symptoms of Alzheimer's, so I kind of had to retire early. And from about 1996 to 2013, I was taking care of my husband, Jack, and he died in 2013. And while he was sick, and I was caring for him, I decided to because I had a lot of free time, I had to watch him, but I also had free time, and I decided to put my doctoral dissertation into a publishable book. And I also missed Farsi, missed hearing Persian. So because Allie was with me, she could take care of my husband, and I was able then to take a couple of courses in Farsi at the University of Michigan. And coincidentally, about the time that my husband died, my book it was published, and I had also finished the Farsi courses that I could take. And I was left with not knowing what I was going to do with the rest of my life. And about a year and a half, 2 years after Jack's death, I had to go to the doctor for some reason. And the doctor asked me how I was doing, and I said, fine. And she said, how are you doing? And I said, I didn't know what I was going to do with my life. I had been a teacher. And she said right away, you need to connect with the Adult Learners Institute in Chelsea. And I taught a course it's called ALI, A-L-I. I taught a course in the history of the Middle East, and it was really, really superficial, and I meant it to be just so that people would know about Muhammad. They would know how Constantinople became Istanbul, just the very raw, simple things. And on the last day of the class, for some stupid reason, I said, does anybody know of an Iranian that I could have conversation with? And in the back of the room was Cherry Nixon. And she raised her hand and said, yeah, there's an Iranian man that takes care of my husband. What was wrong with Bill? It wasn't Alzheimer's.
He had very rare disease, ataxia. So it's a neurological disease that basically is hereditary, and over time you lose the ability to use your muscles. So, So Cherry was
the link.
And I was helping Bill.
Yeah, and she told me about Ramin, and we got in contact with each other, and we met at the Dairy Queen in Dexter first. Mm-hmm. And it was a very, very nice day, and I was a little scared because I thought, oh my gosh, he's so good looking and he's so young and he's going to think I'm an old lady and what interest. But we got on that first day, and then we decided maybe we should meet again. And we met every single week, and it was on Tuesdays, and Tuesday became my Ruza Mesabi, my religious day. Yeah, instead of Sunday, my religious day was Tuesdays. What impressed me about you was your kindness, your gentleness with Bill and with Sherry both. I mean, they both
ways.
And then remember, you were cooking for them.
I started as a person who was doing, so I studied sports medicine, exercise physiology, and I was helping Bill to exercise to keep his muscles, whatever he had, and prolong the disease. And how I got to that family, that's another story, Here comes this Middle Eastern guy in a really, conservative place. He didn't want to work with me because before me there was this really nice blonde, blue-eyed lady that was helping him. And I totally understood, and I told him that if we're not gonna relate and you don't want me to be here, there's no point, it's just you're wasting your money, and I'm wasting my time. And then he started talking to me, and we worked out. I would meet him every week. We started with one session a week, kept him going. I'm also a martial artist. So I used some of my martial arts skills, work with his reflexes, and that really helped. Then I did some massage therapy for him too, because I'm a massage therapist. And then once a week became twice a week, 3 times a week. He asked me to move in. And they had this caregiver that would come in, and, they weren't that caregiving. They would just sit down there and not talking to him, and he would be bored and, go to sleep. And finally, that person was going to college, so they quit, and Cherry was looking for a person, and I was super busy, but I had a special relationship with Bill. I don't know. It felt like I've never done caregiving or any of those. But I offered, I said, I can take care of him. So I became the caregiver, the rehabilitator, and cooked Persian food that he never ever tasted in his life.
And he wasn't going to have anything to do with
it. And his wife was surprised. Like, he never had mushroom. He's like, I'm like, are you a farmer? You never have mushroom? What? Just like it's totally different. Like, I mean, we're talking about like authentic Persian food or Persian fusion. I have some background of restaurant work, management, so French, Persian, all mixed in. It was a great relationship, and Cherry is an amazing person, but she's very she keeps everything to herself. So she still comes see me. We still have a relationship. So other day I was talking to her, and she's like, it was by accident that I raised because I never taught in the class. She's like, I don't know why I did that. I just say, I have this Iranian guy.
Iranian. Oh, that drives me nuts.
Iranian guy that works with my husband. And John actually emailed me 2-3 times, and I was super busy because I was helping Bill. I was a massage therapist. I was teaching martial arts. I did some restaurant business. So
you were DJing too.
I was DJing for fun.
Really? Wow.
So and I didn't know who this person is, and you always, growing up over there, you always are a little careful who you're meeting. If they speak Farsi, it's like, how do you know Farsi? So we met once, and it just snapped. She thinks I give her energy. She gives me energy, and she knows all my secrets. She knows more than my mom, so so it was cool because there was someone that doesn't judge you, gives you, I mean, I don't want to say what her age is, but
thank you.
It's like, it's a big difference, but she's very up to date. I could talk to her about anything, and back then, if I was with someone or if there was a problem, this and that, I would talk to her, and she always gave me the best. Like, there are things that I didn't want to talk to my mom overseas because they're not here. To get them upset, I could talk to her, and she would give me like great advices. So every week, Tuesdays, before I see Bill, we met like in the morning, like 7, 8.
Oh, no, yeah, it was about 8,
7, 8 in the morning, and everybody in the coffee shop.
Oh, remember those? They thought we were spies or something?
Yeah. So we actually, it's funny, we had, because we speak Farsi too, right? And we had this guy always with computer sitting behind us. We're like, let's throw some bad words.
Yeah.
Let's mess with their system.
Yeah, and we did.
We did. And I taught her some bad words, and I told her to not use
words.
them if there are Persians around, and she has embarrassed me a few times.
Do you remember when we went to the Nowruz party?
Yeah, and I'm Joan.
Oh, jeez.
I had to say, it's my fault. It's a very polite culture. Any Eastern culture is very polite, especially if you're with elders. For a young person to say something, like, even when I talk to like an older person, you don't use you as a single person. You use you as like a plural.
Formal,
You know, formal. It's like kind of Spanish too. You know, like instead of tu is su. You know. So, and then we're at this party, you know, Persian party in New Year. Everybody is like elder, and she just throw this word. I was like, and they
Okay,
start laughing because you know she can get away with anything, you know. So,
I mean, it was
so
terrible.
I just when I got lost, I was like, I'm not here. But it's been all pleasure, and we have we've done many things together. You know, she has come to my house. She met my family. I met her family. She's my Persian mother, and she actually. It's funny. She looks like my grandma. You know,
Don't
it's
laugh, Dale.
amazing. No. Well, you know, not just so. And I'm not the one that said. My mom said the same thing. My dad said the same thing. So, it's beside all our conversation. I feel like I know you.
You know, when you can't talk about something you love, it's like there's a door locked in your heart. And what Ramin does is open that door. I can use the word kuche, and he knows I'm talking about a little winding street. I can talk about, well, there's another thing too. He knows the art. And right after I came back from Iran, I took a couple of courses up at Columbia University in New York. And one of the students in that course was a curator in the Islamic art section of the Metropolitan Museum of Art. And I liked her. We became good friends, and she was taking the course so she could read Farsi inscriptions on the art. And I'm thinking, that's art? That's what I've been living with for 2 years. And the carpets, the textiles, the artifacts, I've been living with this for 2 years, and now it's in the Metropolitan Museum of Art. So that kind of brought me to realizing what a treasure Iran had been.
It's a very misunderstood culture. It's an old culture, way of life. Everybody is looking at that part of the world. People don't know what Iran is about, what Iran is about.
Oh, that
It is
drives me
Iran.
nuts.
It's like, you know, someone say your name wrong, you know? So
Yeah, it's that hurtful.
yeah. And it was Persia and then changed to Iran, which means land of Aryans. But, you know, that's the history. But that's what I'm trying to do. And I as a Persian person, I feel like I'm responsible for that culture. So if I'm with a farmer, it doesn't matter if they were ignorant at the beginning, but they didn't know. So I felt like I need to educate. I need to show them what we are about with the food, with my the way I talk to them, the way I show them, gain that trust, and I'm part of their family now. It's to the point that I get invited to all Christmas parties, Thanksgiving. If they're traveling somewhere, I mean,
You go.
Cherry got me a 1 week vacation to anywhere in the world I wanted to go to, you know, and I did use it, you know.
Where'd you
And
go?
I went to Puerto Rico, you know, but I love that place. But like at the Bill's funeral, which Bill is a very well-known person, Bill Nixon, Dexter, they own the Nixon's farms and everything. It was amazing how many people stopped by and talked to me, and even the he's like, I don't know your background, I don't know your religion, but thank you, you're a human, you helped this human being for this past year. So it meant a lot. It meant a lot, and I'm not gonna stop doing that. You know, part of my work is caring and working with people. I own a spa now, and that's another thing, American dream, you know, I came through. Since year 2000, I moved here and I worked my tail off and came, you know, work my way up. And I met beautiful people like Joan, Ellie, you know, you guys. It's a small world. It's a small world, and it doesn't matter what background we have. We all come together and we can share things, you know, we're all related. Joan writes this خبرنامه.
It's the newsletter.
She's like the big boss of the.
Yeah, I'm a Rais.
Yes, and she does a lot of things actually. So there is a column that says, "Did you know?" or "Ayami Dynasty," and every time we come up with a story, and we write, and then she knows I cook, so there is a part that is Chef Babri, which means
Lion.
the tiger,
Tiger,
the tiger
yeah.
shell. I love tigers. So I come up with like a short stories, and that's the other thing that we meet, we talk about, and just educate people, educate Americans about the culture. And when Bill passed away, my client, how we met, I took over the spa, and I needed people to work for me because some people left. They weren't sure who's this guy. Is he gonna do okay? So John is like, I'm gonna help you out. I'm like, okay. So I brought in John, and she was the boss. She was at front desk. I felt good, and over time, she was just getting a little bit tired, and then we changed role. But then we kept meeting at the spa, and everybody knew John. Everybody knew John. Sometimes she would come get services, or her family. So yeah, that was another part of us.
But I gotta tell you, the spa it's Sapphire Spa on Jackson Road, and there's a God, I forget the name of it. The room in the back. The
Relaxation.
relaxation room. It's a very cozy. It's kind of like this room here. We were having coffee back there, and he invited me to sit on the floor, which is a very Persian, like you are. A lot of Persians will relax by sitting on the floor, and
I said, I'll sit on the floor. You came down side of with me. I said,
Yeah.
no, you sit up there.
But I thought, well, that looks kind of relaxing. That's what we used to do in Iran. Because in Iran, when you ate with the family that I lived with, we always ate lunch, the noon meal, at a table. But then for supper, we'd sit on the floor. And it was
Yeah,
very
long time. They used to do that. It's the traditional way, but
Yeah.
when I'm home, it's still to this day. I have couch and table and everything. It just feels good to lay on the
Yeah.
floor, and,
But it's something that we don't usually do automatically, and it's kind of informal. And I thought, okay, I want to do it, but then how am I going to get up? So he picked me up.
No.
But that was a big step for me because I'm awed by him in a way. He's so damn smart, and he's so competent, and he's so good, and I think, oh my God, I can't get up without his help.
Wait, you say I'm smart or not smart? Like you're the PhD.
Oh, come on.
The professor, the writer of the books, and your last book, and she was so kind. She dedicated her last book to me. Yeah,
It's in the library here.
It's about Morgan Schuster. So he was an American that came and helped. Iranian. He wasn't a politician. He was
He was an accountant. Yeah.
Accountant, 1911.
Yeah.
He came and with his family, and you know the story better.
Yeah.
You wrote it.
Well, the government, the Iranian government, had just become a republic. They had been ruled by the Shahs forever, and in 1905 there was a revolution, and they didn't kick the Shah out, but they limited his power, and they had no money, and the British and the Russians had been in there for over a century, just robbing the Iranians blind. They had concessions for this and concessions for that, and so the Iranian government actually had no money. They couldn't hire a decent police force for downtown Iran, let alone an army. And the Russians and the British were dictating their foreign policy, everything. So what the parliament did is they invited an American, and this was 1911, and we weren't a world power, but we had the reputation of being for freedom and self-rule and all kinds of things. And Morgan Schuster, our government did not want to send an official diplomat because we didn't want to get entangled with the British and the Russians. We had no army, we had no navy in 1911. So the President Taft, William Taft, he allowed Morgan Schuster to go to Iran and help straighten out their finances. And Schuster lasted about 6.5 months, and then the British and the Russians saw to it that he got kicked out. So it's a very sad story. But I wouldn't have written it had he not This was right after Trump had withdrawn from the the nuclear agreement, and we were both kind of unhappy about that. And your comment is now the title of that book. You know, you said, okay, the Americans have also exploited Iran, but they've always managed to leave something worthwhile behind. And that was the inspiration for me then to write that book. And his sister made the maps for it. His sister did that.
Yeah. So,
We're going to talk about.
and the next project is our book.
Okay, Ramin.
This is the beginning.
The next.
This is the trailer.
She's
Yeah.
like, I don't know how to start it. I said, we can
We'll
go
figure
back
that.
and talk about it. And,
Go
you
back
know,
and talk about that. Now you've got to tell about Nahal and the wedding.
Yeah. So I met my wife, and you know, she's a PhD. She was a PhD student, and she very much smarter than me.
And pretty, very pretty.
Thank you. Yes, she is. So, and I told you I talked to Joan about all my life and everything, and she's very protective of me. Is she kind to you? Is she good? You know, I need to meet her. Like, sure. So she met her. She loved her. I made sure my mom met her too, and all that stuff. And there was a time, because she was on a student visa and everything, you know, we were worried what's gonna happen. And I did want to get married with her, and I proposed to her and all that, but everything was closed, shut down because of COVID. And Joan went above and beyond to get someone to marry us. She's like, I'll get someone to marry you. Don't worry, you know, because we had to make it official
And quickly.
and quickly. So Ali, my American sister, she went and became ordinate.
You could buy these online.
Yeah, and she married us, you know. So this is how they are, you know. You guys are Persian too. So we actually got married in Joan's house, and
We decorated one of the barns.
yeah, and my wife loves horses, and we were by the horses, and it was beautiful. Small gathering, and so she came to the family, and they loved her, and yeah, it's been great.
But
you
one
know.
of the things, I got to interrupt you, but Ramin, shortly after when I first met Nahal, she seemed very quiet and very shy, and she didn't seem to, and I thought, oh God, I'm one of those. But we were at the spa, and you went out to the desk to handle something, and Nahal just broke open. And she started talking about her feelings for Ramin, and I will never forget what she said. With Ramin, she said, I am at peace.
It's been like an amazing journey. You know, it's been an
Yeah.
amazing journey. We found that we have mutual friends, and the world is so small. I hope maybe people by watching this, they educate themselves a little bit more. You know,
Yeah.
because I understand. You know, if I don't know something, if I see someone unfamiliar, maybe I keep my guards up a little bit. But I'm willing to learn. And if that person is not too kind, using good words, I won't talk to them. But if they show you respect, if they show you genuinely, you know, love, I will give them a chance. So, and I understand not all Iranians are good people. Not they're crazy, radical people everywhere, like here too. So you cannot just say because this person or that person was like this, or this group of people doing this, the whole nation are bad people. No, I think that's unfair.
Yeah.
We just have to educate ourselves. I'm American Iranian. You know, I was born in Detroit. You know, to two students.
You got to
But-
tell them about your mom and dad.
Yes. So mom and dad came here late 70s. A lot of Iranians back then, they came, got education, and then they went back. So this was before revolution when they came, and they were husband and wife, and I and my brother were born here while they were here, and they both got their master degrees. Um, they were trying to stay, but they loved their country. They wanted to go back. Family was pressuring them to go back too. So a lot of reasons they went back early 80s after they graduated and we were born here. So we grew up there. We, I mean, they tried to come back, but because of the relationships, never happened. But I was an American citizen, my brother was. So when we got to the age that we could take care of ourselves, early, I was 17. My brother, same. We moved back here, and it's been a journey. It was really hard at the beginning. The US image is Chicago or Los Angeles, New York, tall buildings, or mountains, Utah, all this stuff. So everything was weird, and I'm like, why didn't I ask these questions while I was growing up? Or I mean, you see some tall buildings in Detroit. I saw some pictures of my parents by tall buildings, but it was a shock. It was
And
a
he's
shock.
from one of the most beautiful cities in the world.
And here's the other thing: when you tell people you're from Iran, not Iran, people think, oh, it's the desert. No, we have two big deserts. We have two big deserts, but north of Iran, actually, where Joan was, it's just like Michigan. It's very lush, green,
Wet.
wet, beautiful mountains, like Michigan, mixed Michigan and Colorado together. Beautiful. Mid part is like Atlanta, where I grew up, big city, very metropolitan. No donkeys or horses,
No camels.
no camels. I don't think I ever seen camels in Iran. Like unless you go down south, you see, or in the desert.
I did
But
once, and they
beautiful
stink.
horses. We have amazing horses. They're well known in the world. You go down south by Persian Gulf. You can swim in Persian Gulf in winter, same as Florida. So our Miami is, Abadan or Bandar Abbas. It's actually people are very kind and very like south. I think it's the weather. I don't know. But where I grew up was more like Atlanta weather, but there are some mountains too. So yeah, it was weird for me when I came. I'm like, oh, where are the mountains? My brother didn't know mountain. There were beautiful cars. And I'm like, oh, this is cars, Detroit Motor City. Yeah. Nice cars. But it was shock. It was shock. I had to go to high school 1 year, totally different. Education in Iran, it's like college level. High school is like college level. Here was like elementary school, So I was born in a class I couldn't understand English. It was my fault too. I didn't work on my English because I was like, I'm an American. I'm U.S. citizen. I'll go there. I'll learn English in 6 months. My dad was that I learned here, but it never worked. I mean, I'm still learning, but it's hard. It's tough when you immigrate, and I was export import, but it was tough, and I love both countries. I just neither of them have been bad to me. And
But remember when you told me that you stood outside and you watched an airplane go by and you wanted to be on that plane going
the
back
first
home?
6 months, every plane that I saw from Detroit going, I'm like, can I be in it?
Yeah.
It was tough. It was tough. It was a big culture shock. But after when I went to college, it was a change. You meet a lot of people with different cultures, and it was more like the level of where I left Iran, the high school, and then 2 years, 3 years, and then you feel much better. Took a couple trips back home, make you feel better, So, yeah.
Yeah.
Hopefully, we can go back and forth more, and people can see Iran with wider eyes.
I knew the Iran before he was born. I mean, he was born in 1984, and I was there in 1964. So he's revealing to me, too, a much younger Iran. that I, really would not have known of. The friend I've got in Irvine, California is my age, So when we talk about Iran, he's talking about it as the two of us knew it. And from him, I'm learning the young Iran, and it's beautiful. It's just, again, the women, especially the little girls that I was teaching, seemed so uninteresting, so uninquisitive, just like little dolls. His mom would have been one of these girls. His mom is younger than I am. His mom would have been one of these little girls, and darn, I don't want to tangle with your mom. I mean, they're tough, they're literate, they're interesting, they're exciting, they're just fun. His mom is just doggone fun. And this is what those little girls that I thought were so uninquisitive, uninterested, this is what they grew up to be, like his mom.
Strong woman.
There was a town between Lahijan and Rasht where there was a shrine to an Islamic saint. And at one point, the mullah in that town wanted me to come out and teach the girls. Now, what I'm saying here is big time. It was a mullah, a cleric, that wanted me, a kafir, an infidel, to come to this sacred town and teach girls. Now, you don't need English to be a wife and a mom, but you do need English to be a nurse or a doctor or a physicist or a botanist. That guy wanted his girls to do more than just breed babies, I thought was totally, it awed me. And I found out later that he wanted me to wear a chador when I came out there. A chador is, you see hijabs on TV now, but a chador goes from your head right down to your ankles. And it's something, if you see statues of the Virgin Mary or saints, that's what they're wearing, is a chador. But the women in the town thought I wouldn't go out there if I had to wear a chador. So would I compromise? Would I wear a scarf? Well, the weather is wet all over the place there, so sure I was going to wear a scarf. And that mullah would come into the classroom and ask me, were the girls studying? Were they being good? Were they learning? He was that concerned. And I think he's one of the most beautiful clergymen, bar any, that I've met ever in my life. I was really awed by that. And again, I'm looking at, I wish people in the United States knew how generous, how good, how caring the Iranian people are and how much they want to advance their own country. And here we are. Here he is. If I had the money, I'd go back there in a heartbeat. I'd go, I think I'd go to Rasht first. I loved the town. I totally loved Rasht. Lahijan was harder, a lot harder. But the family I lived with, I couldn't keep in touch with them because they didn't know English, and at that point I couldn't write Farsi. So we lost touch with each other, but I loved them too. I remember I got a slight cold once, and the mom and the daughter put me in bed. I wasn't that sick, but they took my temperature, and it was 110 or something. I don't know. But I was very, very sick, and I didn't have any of that. I had a slight cold. But, they were going to take care of me whether I liked it or not. And it's this kind of thing. It's just this wonderful, the word is love. Ishq.
It is love, yeah. Absolutely.
And again, as I've said so often, what he's done is unlock a door in my heart.
It goes both ways.
Ah, shucks.